start button has been pushed by the seldom seen Jake Ellacott, and we are ready to start a Podful of Saints number 35 for the season. And it's on the 1st of April. It must be 1st of April. We're talking about a City win. Can't be true, can it? With the previously mentioned Jake Ellacott. Good evening, Jake.
Hello, Dave. Good to see you're in a playful mood as ever.
And not so smartly attired today, Lee Wood.
David, Jacob. Jake, was there a Taylor Swift concert, buddy, or you just didn't fancy it on Saturday, or what? Where were you, mate?
I was just reviewing the nightlife of Liverpool, and I can tell you it's not bad at all. No Taylor Swift, but, wasn't too bad.
Oh, they got a football team up there.
They've got a couple, apparently.
All right, okay. Right, we're looking back on last Saturday at Clarence Park. Very little football to be seen there. 1-0 win for the Saints against Farnborough. Actually, before we start, on the 1st of April, 1929, we won the Hearts Senior Cup. We actually 1-0 in front of 3,000. Billy Minter scored. Right, now we're going back to last Saturday. You get to a ground, you want to see the teams, don't you? So you look at the team sheet, which is a near enough spelling of team sheet, isn't it? Near as damn it. Well, we need to look at it because Dion Woodman wasn't there. He got recalled by Wilstone on loan from them, central defender, of course. That was a big blow, wasn't it? That was the main talking point before the game. And how would we cope with it? And we put James Claridge in there. He didn't do a bad job at all. And there's one other change from the previous game. Sean Jeffers, following his last-minute goal the week before, came in for Ruben Wyatt. How were you worried? How much were you worried, Lee, about the absence of Dion Woodman?
Yeah, massively. I think if you look back over Ian Culverhouse's reign so far, you'd probably pick Woodman as one of the standout contributors. And the fact that, okay, he's blown hot and cold in a couple of places, but ultimately he's been solid. And I think the relationship he's formed with David Longking at the back has been, a real key factor in the fact that we've actually in with a glimmer of a chance of saving ourselves from the dreaded drop. I think the thing that leaves a sour taste in my mouth, I think Ian Culverhouse alluded to it in his post-match, was just the manner and the timing in which it happened. It didn't give us any chance whatsoever to get a replacement in. Not that you could get a replacement for Dion Woodman. The fact is that he's been a real colossus for us at the back. And I think you probably, along with your cronies, Tabs, were looking at it and thinking, who do we put in the back? Is it going to be a massive blow for us? But as you say, Claridge steps up. And on the whole, I don't think he did a bad job.
No, not at all. He fitted in quite well. Dion Woodman, 2 spells for us this season, 24 games, 2 goals. He must be almost top scorer. 2 things to look at this game is the importance of a win to the club and the quality of football. And they are opposite ends of a spectrum. They really are. We're going to start with the importance of a win, so we'll start with the game. I thought, actually, Lee, we started quite brightly. Sean Jeffers had a shot on target in the first, 23 seconds. Then he did well to get behind the defence not long after that. And was going to cut the ball back, but Ollie Robinson, the Farnborough skipper, decided to go down and give him a free kick. Nothing had happened. And really, from then on, the game just went downhill. The quality of it was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. No 2 ways about it. Jack Turner in the Boro goal didn't really have an awful lot to do with that. At the other end, Michael Johnson made a good save with his feet, but apart from a few crosses, again, didn't have much to deal with. In the second half in particular, I don't know if you saw it this way, but Farnborough dominated. But they just couldn't get anything on target, just couldn't create anything. They had the best player on the pitch in Aaron Cull. Quality midfielder we are desperately lacking, we could do with. But they just didn't build on it at all. And our goal, well, again, it summed up the day. They didn't deal with a high bouncing ball into the box. Why the defender didn't knock it out head it out for a corner and whatnot, I don't know. But he gave Alex Waller a chance and he persisted. His persistence paid off. He just poked it over the keeper and into the net. It was a soft goal. We're taking it in the situation we're in. But the game as a match, and it's echoed by the comments of people around me, was absolutely dreadful. Was it any better beyond a goal?
I think you have. I mean, given the situation we find ourselves in, I think the high quality of football was going to be limited. And I think the one thing that behind the goal is very evident. There was two trains of thought. There were people resigned to the fact that we were going to go down, and therefore they just sort of turned up. But then there was those people who still believed. They still clambered on to any glimmer of hope of us staying up. But it was really sort of tense and nervy. And there's a real edge on the terraces. I mean, there were people supporting and getting behind the boys, as we always do. But it was just real, I don't know, tense atmosphere, very sort of nervous. And I think that sort of related a little bit onto the pitch as well. I think to expect a decent game of football at this stage of the season, given the importance of results, I think is high expectations, Dave. I know what you're saying, because ultimately we've got good players and good players can play good football. But I think we're just at that situation now, mate. We are sort of desperate times, aren't we? And I think the result is the key thing above all, surely.
Yeah, if we want to talk about just the result, it was everything that mattered. And we got the result we needed.
Yeah.
Not just wanted it, we needed it. And now we're just 3 points behind Enfield. We've got superior goal difference to them. We've got two very tough games coming up now before facing them. But we're giving ourselves a real chance. And maybe, I think a lot of supporters will say, it doesn't matter how we get there. We had to get there. I'll give you some comments. So, for me, it's the closest I've come to walking out of a City match before full time. It was shocking. We were just hoofing it, not aiming for anybody. We were just hoofing it up in the air, and it was horrible. I'd hope I'll never see a City side play that way, but it was, and it was awful. But a friend of mine took a 10-year-old relation to the game. The kid loved it because live match, big crowds, decent atmosphere. He loved it, but he said, we didn't pass the ball to the strikers. This is a 10-year-old, same age I went when I started going. We just whacked the ball up in the air. He said, there's no point in playing strikers if you don't give them the ball. And you look at Sean Jeffers. He didn't have anything to feed off whatsoever. Neither did Ken Charles when he came on. A couple of big punts went somewhere near Alex Wall outside the box. But we didn't create a single thing through proper football. Another comment here. Awful game. But 3 good points. Somebody else a bit blunter, crap game. And there's a chap here called Ian Culverhouse said, really poor game, lacking in quality. But I'll take another 5 of those.
You would, wouldn't you? And it's really interesting you picked up on the point about the strikers, Dave, because I think I've never, in Alex Wall, look, is Alex Wall going to be the answer? No, of course he's not. But I think he's a victim of circumstance, isn't he? Because we had the injuries to Dausch and Smith, and he's come in. I don't think I've seen a reaction towards one of our own players so quickly since his arrival that as Alex Smith has got from some of the people on the terraces. Alex Wall, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it was so bizarre. I don't think he's covered himself in glory. I think for someone of my issue is that for someone of his girth, he gets brushed off and pushed off the ball far too easily from defenders half of his size. But ironically, he managed to sort of starve off the challenge to one of the biggest people on the pitch to get his goal on Saturday. I don't think he played that badly on Saturday. I think there was certainly a lack of chemistry between him and Jeffers, but I think having 2 up front worked for us a bit more. We had a bit more possession when we could, and we tried to play football when we could. I think if it proves anything at all in terms of strikers, 2 up front has to be the way forward, simply because it gives you got Alex Wall is a funny one because he's out of form and low on confidence, and then when you pair him up with another striker of the exact same credentials, it doesn't really sort of bode sort of well. You're not really going to get a lot of productivity out of those two. But I think it worked in a way that it gave Farnborough something else to think about. When you've got 2 strikers up top in Sean Jeffers and then the size of Wall, it really does push them back a bit, rather than just having 1 up front, which is fruitless. I don't think it's worked really any time this season, whoever it is up front. So it is difficult. And I echo and support the comments that you've read out there. Jake, we were there at Chesham, and we've seen Wall over the past sort of 2 or 3 games. He's on a hiding to nothing because he's a striker. He's expected just to come in and start hitting the ground running, not necessarily score goals, but definitely sort of contribute to the overall team dynamic. It just hasn't happened for him, has it, mate?
No, it hasn't at all. And you have to say the response from the game before last, I mean, it's quite obvious, isn't it? But he heard a lot of that, given the way he celebrated his goal on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think he is. He's been chucked in. I don't think he would have expected to end the season with us. I don't think we expected to end the season with him. We've chucked him in and we're asking him to do a job. And, arguably, has he already returned us that to some extent? He's got us 3 points, and that's arguably more than a lot of our strikers have secured this season for us. So, it is a hiding to nothing. It's a love-hate relationship at the minute between him and the fans. But if he scores a couple more like that this season, then he gives us a chance, doesn't it? But yeah, it's I don't think anyone within the football club would have envisioned at the start of the season that we'd end it with Alex Wall scoring on the back of a Michael Johnson long ball to secure a vital 3 points.
A point by a 10-year-old is quite valid. If you don't pay, there's no point in playing strikers if you don't give him the ball. Because Sean, it's pointless asking him to run around like a greyhound. He's a goal scorer. You got to get him the ball in the box, and we just didn't create a single chance for him Saturday. Well, didn't create a single chance really for any of the strikers. So if we've got another 5 games like that, you do wonder where the goals are going to come from. And not everyone's going to gift us a goal like Farnborough did. So we've got to play proper football. I don't think we played any real football at all. There's a little bit in the first half, but none at all in the second half.
Okay, so let me bring something else into the equation, and it's been mentioned when we've won games and lost games by both sets of managers, is the pitch. Because the fact is, you've got to have a good surface in order for us to play some level of good football. And also, another thing, are we just panicking and we're not desperate? We're panicking and we're just playing territory. We're trying to play possession football in their half. I think that's probably where we are. One thing that Sean Jeffers will do for you is run and sort of put defenders under pressure. I think we've got the midfield runners to sort of back him up in that equation as well. Good football is all well and good, Tabs, but ultimately we've got ourselves into a situation where we can't do that at the minute. Look, it is the nature of where we find ourselves, and the fact we're even still in with a chance after the debacle at Chesham and the points we've dropped certainly over the last month or two. It's fascinating. We've been given a lifeline, and as you say, only 3 points behind Enfield with them to play as well. But we've got some hard games coming up, and I think the result is the key denominator after all of that, because I don't see a situation where if we drew against Farnborough, we are even in with a chance of staying up really now.
I've got to agree with you, virtually everything you say there, Lee.
Hell, really?
Always do. It's the other one who causes trouble. The win was everything for the club.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see another 5 games like that. As a football supporter, I just couldn't get anything out of that game whatsoever. I didn't video the goal because it seemed like the defender had it covered. It should have been a simple situation for them to sort out, and they totally screwed it up. No, I don't want to see any more games like that. In the early 80s, when City didn't have a game midweek, I go off to watch Watford occasionally, and they were accused of playing long ball, which is absolute rubbish. They had John Barnes one wing and Nigel Callaghan the other wing, 2 good strikers up front, and they were exciting to watch. They played long ball, but it was to wingers, straight to them or for them to run onto, and with decent forwards up there, which was different to the long ball game we played Saturday, which was just big boots. You can't immediately turn to that. It takes a long time to cultivate playing that way, but just shows it can be exciting. But the way we did it, it wasn't. It was pretty much as you say. It was a means to an end. Particularly once we got ahead, it made it difficult for Farnborough to play against us. Their problem was but they were goal shy. They hadn't got a clue what to do up front. They were very weak up front. Otherwise, they could have turned that game around. They could have been ahead before half time. So, yeah, another thing that Ian said after the game, it was the ugly side of football, and we came on the right side of it.
Yes. I think the second half, we've not really sort of touched on that a great deal. I think the substitutions were key as well, because Farnborough were getting on top there and quite a lot of the ball, but I think they lacked quality as much as us as well. It was just a really weird one, because I don't think for 1 second we took the foot off the gas. I think it was just the fact that we were tired and legs, and that's where the key substitutions came into play. I think we've got a bit more about us in terms of bench now than we have previously. So, but look, we can dissect this as much as we like, fellas. And the fact that you've used good football and Watford in the same sentence is alarming, to be honest with you. But look, it's Jake, you were watching from afar. I think all you really care about at this stage is the result. You know more than most that we haven't been playing well. There's not a lot of cohesion at the minute between our strikers. We do need to score. It looks. Thing is, Tabs, right? This is to your point. We always seem we need to score more than one goal to win games at times, and we rode our luck on Saturday. You know, if Farnborough would have been a bit more clinical, they could have easily walked away with something out of Clarence Park. But just two poor teams at the minute, low on confidence and low on skill. But we had enough about us to get it over, get it done. So, Jake, results are key, mate. But I think I agree with Tabs in something we do need to up our performance, because we've got two very, very tough games coming up now, mate. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, to be fair, if you'd offered us this result away at Chesham a couple of weeks ago, we'd have bitten your hand off of it. The performance probably wasn't that much different from what I've heard, and the response from some fans, not just those. Dave, one of our mates, Lee, Andy, I asked, "Are we staying up?" Then he said, "Not after that display. I think I'm even more confident we're going down." Even though we came away with 3 points and closed the gap. It's so funny, isn't it? But we're in a situation now. We really did ourselves in with that run of results, and now we're having to play a way that is, desperate at times. But we don't have much else choice, really. It feels like. I agree with both of you. We could probably be a bit more dynamic in the way we've been playing. And I thought, the other week we did with the Sean Jeffers late goal, the pressure we'd built in that game. We'd been having chances. We looked a lot better up front, didn't we? Then suddenly this has been a very extreme, deep dive into Sunday League style football. Get it done. Walk away with the three points.
Beautiful.
And
more of that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us going to the Farnborough game thought, right, these lot are vulnerable. They've not been good. They're sort of seeing the season out now. Can we put in another really energetic performance? And I wonder, actually, was this Ian Culverhouse preparing for the next two? Because does he know that the next two are going to really be digging in and getting us the style of play that is not going to be pretty, but might be necessary against two teams that we know could cause us a lot of damage?
You said, Lee, we're going into games. We need to score more than one goal a game to win them, which is true obviously for anybody. One game won't win. One goal won't win you a greater number of games than it should do. In fact, in our last 18 league games, we've only done that twice, scored more than once. It's just another reason why we're down where we are. Fortunately, we don't let many in too often, but it's all those 1-1 draws. Need to turn a few more of those into victories to get out of the mess we're currently in. Can you see us scoring more than one goal a game, mate? Well, no, you can't, because we're just not creating things playing this way. We were a few weeks ago, but suddenly it seems to have all changed.
Yeah, I do think that two up front is the way to go. I know the style of football was very different on Saturday, but I think we've got to maintain this in the final few games, because it gives you those options and it gives you the ability for other players to run off and that space as well. We know Alex Wall is going to take a lot of attention, defenders, and it might not work Saturday, but that will create space for other players like a Sean Jeffers, who we know can find the back of the net. So I think we've got to try and stick with this more positive formation in these final few games because, like you say, Dave, I think otherwise we haven't got a chance of scoring goals.
I know you weren't there Saturday, Jake. One assumes that Alex Wall's going to means he will retain his place on Saturday. Sean was taken off, having won his place back by getting that last-minute goal the week before. What would you do? Would you stick with Sean again, or would you bring Ken Charles in? Would you bring Harrison Smith in, or possibly Ollie Davis?
I mean, how did the substitutes look when they came on? I know Ken got a bit of time, didn't he? So
they were looking like this. They were looking for the ball, Jake.
Well, I suppose that's the difficulty, isn't it? I personally would stick with Sean Jeffers just because of that consistency. And we said last week, didn't we? If we have a chance of scoring or staying up, we need a goal scorer. And Sean Jeffers has not been that this season. He's not been perfect, but we know he can. And so I think you've got to stick with him. I think changing it again wouldn't really help anyone unless it's a bit of a wild card. I mean, Ken Charles, I think he's looked better out wide, personally, when he's featured in recent weeks than up front. And I think Harrison Smith's fitness, can you risk that? Do you know really what's going to happen? If you start him, is there a chance you have to bring him off after 45 minutes and sort of lose all that at all? I mean, I like Ollie Davis. I think his game time's been much more limited than it maybe should have been. I think he's impressed. But does that indicate that Ian and Bazza don't necessarily trust him to be getting thrown in from the start? And, you know, we need experience up front for these next two games. I think Sean Jeffers and Alex Wall, that's a heck of an experienced front too, isn't it? I mean, their combined age is almost as old as you, Dave. So, you know, that's not bad.
We could see that one coming. Right, we have a vacancy on the Podful of Saints, by the way. Right, okay, yes. Right, are we done with that game?
I think so.
Yeah, we mentioned briefly two tough games coming up. First one against Dorking Wanderers, Mark White's side, the owner and manager of the Surrey club. Beautiful setting there, the background there, the Surrey Hills, lovely. Shame they stick you down the side of a ground as an away supporter where you can't even see the whole of a touchline, and they treat you with no respect whatsoever in that manner. And well, the whole game left a nasty taste, didn't it? You had now McManus did that dreadful dive and acting to get Nick Ralph booked when he hadn't even been touched, as our video clearly shows. And you had Mark White after the game ranting he should have been sent off, hung, drawn, and quartered. But this is going to be tough, isn't it? They are back into form. One defeat in 14, beat Eastbourne on Saturday. Very notable win. Their last four games against Maidstone, drew away. Torquay lost at home, then beat Bournemouth away and beat Eastbourne at home. They played the top sides around them and picked up 7 points. They are in form. Their top scorers in National League South, 3 players in double figures. Alfie Rutherford 17, Jason Pryor 13 and Charlie Carter 10. But they've also got 6 sending offs, which is even more than us. Do we fancy this one as a comfortable 3 points playing the way we
are? Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not who you want to be going up against, is it? You know, they got a huge win on Saturday, and in the week before, Worthing very much have left the door ajar, haven't they? For that, you know, Worthing looked like they were going to run away with the title. It's opened up now, and Dorking are well in it. And we know that Dorking, when they get into these positions, with the team they've got, with the budget they've got, they could be pretty ruthless. And I think Saturday is a worrying prospect in many ways, personally, for me.
When we went down there, we had a few injuries. Nobby was manager at the time, so we did see the halfway line at one point, I think. But we had a few injuries, so he put out a scratch side in many respects, and we battled hard. But when you watch the highlights back, Dorking came from behind to win it, and they had enough chances to have won comfortably. Do you see anything better for this time round, Lee?
When I've got my my blue and yellow tinted glasses on, I look at this sort of game and I'm just hoping that is Gio back because someone.
Yes, we believe he is.
Okay, so let's look at it like this. Let's the fact that Claridge and Long King are, you know, strong at the back, and the fact that we've got Gio Rizzulo and Zane Banton, and they are doing the things that we know that they can do. Zane is running himself an absolute riot in the opposition half. You've got Sean Jeffers, one of the top goal scorers in Nationwide South history. He's, looking threatening in some way. Wall can put those critiques aside and sort of, maybe cause a problem or two himself. And then later on in the game, when they're tired and battered and bruised, we can bring on the likes of Charles to maybe stretch them with his speed and his pace. That's in an ideal world. Honestly, I think if we get anything out of the game, it would be a miracle. It's not because the quality of us, but the quality of the opposition. They are absolutely tearing it up at the minute, and they've got some immense players worthy of a league or even two above where they currently ply their trade. It's going to be difficult, Tavs, but there's belief, if nothing else. If there's a lack of quality, I think the fact that, isn't it ironic though, that Woodman leaves and we keep our first clean sheet in a month or whatever it is. I mean, that's just the City way, isn't it? At the minute, they just like to sort of toy and tease with us. I'm with Jake. I hope he goes with 2 up front. I think if we start playing 5 at the back, I think you're having to shuffle people around, and you lose that continuity as well. You want to start pressure because the game is won and lost in the middle of the park, and I think that's probably where our strength is. I said this last week. Bendel, Rasulo, Banton, you've got to get those players on the ball. They are the playmakers, and obviously they can dictate the pace of the play. Hopefully, I don't know, mate. I think I can see us getting shafted, but then again, I'm hoping that our players step up to the mark and sort of prove that they're worthy of playing in this division for one more season at least. So who knows, mate? It's on the edge, isn't it? So it's going to be a good crowd, it's going to be a good day. Whether it's a good result at the end of it, mate, who knows?
I think it's unthinkable, if that makes sense, that we won't go with 2 up front. Which 2? I don't know. Alex Wall certainly played his way in there with that goal. Invo, he got substituted as well Saturday. It's good. Dorking a very experienced side, so you would have thought we're going to stick a big experienced player up there against them. One of your shirts fell down a minute ago, Lee. Went down quicker than Now McManus did down at their place. If you want a bit of hope, you look at fixtures elsewhere. Salisbury away to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, all right, they're wavering at the moment, but you'd fancy Wood to win that. And Enfield are at Hemel. Hemel only drew with Aveley, wasn't it, last week, I think. They're now safe. Are they going to be a mid-table side that could give points away? If not, you would fancy them. So that takes a bit of pressure off us, if you like, but it's clutching at straws. It's really got to be what we do, hasn't it?
It has. I think on those fixtures, I think we should say that we've always been big Ian Allinson and Lee Allinson fans. So I wish them well on Saturday. Come on, lads. At Clarence Park, I think my only concern about that I want the front 2, but it is how do we squeeze Gio Rasulo back into this team with that front 2? Who drops out? Because I think you've got to get Gio in there. I know we've not been his biggest fan this season, but his form just before getting sent off, and the man who got sent off, at least he was trying and cared. I think you've got to get back in because we've got to try and unlock this defense. Well, maybe not unlock, but we need quality players out, don't we? And I think you've got to bring Gio in. So how do we squeeze him into the team? And I also wonder if we might drop one forward to try and maybe pack the midfield to try and battle in there and see if we can win some possession, because I think there is a risk this Dorking team might try and strangle us early on. It's what they did against Eastbourne on Saturday. And you don't want to be going a goal behind early on, do you? Because then that game you're always chasing and it's going to be really hard. So I think that's just 2 things to consider with the potential lineup on Saturday.
Well, we've got Aidan Coyne on loan to cover, Rio. Rio? We've got another one now. Got all these players coming in. Gio was suspended. So you'd imagine Rasulo will come in for Coyne. And you mentioned the pitch earlier, Lee. Do you remember that time on last Saturday? Coyne tried to cross the ball in from the right wing and he shanked it completely and it landed on top of that temporary structure. It's now 3 and a bit years old or whatever. And there was a pitch, the ball bubbled up and it went off his shin. He couldn't make a true connection on it, which is just one of those unfortunate things. But I suspect, unless anyone is carrying an injury, it will be Coyne who misses out for return of Rasulu.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing in so much that I know what Jake's trying to say, trying to pack that midfield, but now with Claridge at the back, you sort of lose that bit of strength in the middle of the park. So maybe trying to stretch the game widthways and getting to 4 in the middle of the park isn't a bad thing either way. Yeah. I think Coyne and Harrison Smith and Ken Charles coming off the bench isn't a bad thing either, because that shows intent, if nothing else, because they've got the pace and the tenacity to really get in. I mean, Coyne, the one thing I did like about him, he was willing to make those forward runs. He was looking to get in behind. Okay, telepathically, he wasn't on the same wavelengths as others around him, but at least he's showing that intent and that desire to get forward and cause problems, which hopefully, if we're still in the game in the later stages, that could prove fruitful perhaps. But again, we're clutching at straws, fellas, because we're looking at all the games left that we've got on our calendar and we're not getting anything from Dorking. We've not thought, oh, you know what, if we get a point at Dorking, that's not going to happen.
No. I just received a message, actually, about the young lad who went down there. His comments were actually directed mostly about Sean Jeffers, because he knows him, or he knows the family. It was him who wasn't getting the ball, but it was all the forwards, wasn't it? And he was saying there's no point in playing Sean if you don't create chances for him. But it was the same for all the forwards, and it's going to be the same if we get whichever pair we go for Saturday. We've got to give them a chance. We can't rely on errors and just law of averages, keep hoofing the ball long, and it one time it's going to break for us. We've got to be a bit more productive than that. And this is where Rio, I've done it again, Gio, given the form he was in before he was suspended, he could be the one to unlock Dorking. He's got to be.
Look at what happened when, I think if Harrison Smith is fully fit, I don't think Sean Jeffers gets near the starting lineup. And I think that Ken Charles has almost played himself out of contention in terms of the starting lineup for the games that he has turned up with. Look how poor he featured with Wall up against Chesham Away. Chesham Away is a yardstick of which we should be looking at recent results and thinking we can't have any of that again. I think Ken Charles is going to have more impact coming off the bench because he's going to have his bit between his teeth. He's going to want to prove a point. I've just got the feeling that Dorking's defenders are going to just eat him up if he starts from the absolute off. At least with Wall and Jeffers, there's experience there, as Jake said, but also there's a bit of strength. And I think Jeffers, although his goal scoring has gone, he can certainly his link up play is definitely still there. Look, he's in the side through default more than anything else. But hopefully he can turn that into an opportunity, and hopefully we can see a Jeffers spark of old to try and get something out of this game, because we need him and we need Gio/Rio to sort of step up, because it's a big game, and in the big games, boys, we need the big players and we need the big names to sort of start showing themselves now.
This is an indication of how much the team has changed since that game at Dorking at the end of August. Jack James, he's coming back from injury, may or may not start. Dan Bowery's gone. Alfie Payne is AWOL. They're not even mentioned in interviews or anything anymore. Luke Allen's gone. Devfield's gone, so's his Christian name. And Gautier, Kieran Gautier's gone as well. So quite a few changes from when we lost down there.
Dave, I'm going to say, you mentioned Luke Allen. I think he went about 8-10 years ago, didn't he?
What a player.
Allen. Yeah, Luke Allen. I told you he's gone.
Yeah, you are right. This team has changed a lot, and I think that again indicates how the recruitment in the summer wasn't what we were expecting, or didn't go as well as we thought it would at the time. And yeah, it wasn't a great performance, was it? But there was battling, and we even had a chance to go 2-0 up, didn't we, early on in the second half? In the second half, when Ken Charles had that shot that went wide / over the bar. But it was a disastrous day all round, wasn't it? I think even off the pitch after the game, and David Noble's post-match interview, and some fans hit post-match interview, post-match team talk, and it was just bit of a disaster around. So, I think the key on Saturday is avoid that sort of situation. It's difficult when you're in a relegation fight, but we've just got to try and stick in there, haven't we? Just try and carry any positives that we can into the games we've got coming up, and just avoid a defeat on Saturday that is too damaging morale or goal difference wise. Although goal difference probably not a huge issue there. So,
talking about Nobby and team talk after the game at Dorking. Dave, if you're watching, I just want to say thanks for providing my favourite comment of a season. You shouted through that window that day. We shan't repeat it here again. We did it at a time.
That's very unlike said Dave. Oh, dear.
Right. Anything else to add to that?
I mean,
I think.
do we have to do any predictions? I don't want to.
Well, I was going to say it sounds like we're throwing in the towel on that one. No, it's the thing about playing these top sides at this stage of the season. I think some might ease up because they're in the playoffs. They know they're going to make the playoffs now because there's a gap emerging between the top seven. But they all, of course, if they can't get the title, they want to finish high up to get a home place in the playoffs. So no one's going to concede it. Yeah, our best hope would be Truro on the end of the season. It might have all been sorted out by the time we go there for the final game. So if we need anything, it may help us a bit, but it is clutching at straws to think we're going to get out of it on the final day. That's what, 3 of the last 5 games against sides chasing the title. Certainly a playoff place. It's pretty tough. And then you've got Hemel Hempstead as well. But by then, they might be thinking of the beach somewhere with a bit of luck. And Enfield, well, that's be our 3rd double of the season, wouldn't it? It's comfortable. Right, prediction, man, for Saturday.
You go first, Dave. Come on, mate. Come on. You go first. Set us off.
Well, good grief. I haven't predicted a defeat since Chippenham on the 1st of March. You don't want to go against us. We're fighting to stay up. I think Dorking will have too much for us. 2-0.
Jacob, say it.
No, I'm not. No, I'm going to be optimistic and say 1-1.
That's unusual this season. Yeah.
Heart says a cheeky draw. Head definitely says like 3-1 Dorking, I think.
3-1. Okay. And we'll all be happy to be proved wrong.
Oh, absolutely. All day long. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dave, do you still think we're staying up? A fan asked the other day.
Looking at our fixtures to come, it's tough. Not as confident as I was a few weeks ago, but have Enfield had their good run? And every side has a good one. We had one a couple of years ago now, but every side has one when they're fighting to get out of trouble. We may pull off that shock result Saturday, and yeah, I'm going to stick with it. There's plenty of wood around here, so yeah, stick with it, but wavering a bit.
Oh dear.
Speaking of the Enfield game, getting ahead of ourselves slightly, tickets are on sale for that game, and they are expecting a big crowd. So it might be prudent for City fans to get their tickets ahead of the game. Just sort of saying, because you don't want to sort of get all that way and then find out that you can't get in. No ticket news has been issued, other than the fact that they are on sale, and that I spoke to the chairman last week, and he expects a big crowd. Obviously, it's Easter weekend, so there's going to be, and obviously, Dave, the old rivalry. I know it's not the Enfield of old, but Enfield and Albans does always sort of stoke up memories of past encounters, and it should be a decent crowd down there as well. So just keep an eye on the ticket situation, because it might be an idea to get some in advance.
Yeah, back in the old Ishmael League days, the original Enfield club, although they were later rivals in the Ishmael League. I joined it from the Athenian. When was it? Early 60s. We've been in it since 1923. But they were big games. Southbury Road, big games. Enfield were very successful in the major cup competitions, very successful in the league, lots of amateur internationals. We had the better players. They just never got picked by Charlie Hughes. You can find plenty in the papers about that. Well, he took a bit of stick for that. And of course, those top clubs pinched out. Not back then, Lee. Not back then. Those other clubs pinched out top players, and straight away they get capped for England. You got Phil Wood, John Butterfield. Did Roger Grant? No, Roger Grant didn't. But they just one after another. Anyway, yeah, they were big days. But that said, the Gates, although they were decent, they're not going to be matching what we're getting now this season, which has been tremendous. And Saturday again was another very good gate, 17 at almost 1800 against Farnborough. These are exceptional gates. Football maybe isn't justified it, so it's a tribute to the loyalty of people at St Albans, how much they want their chicken burger or whatever it is we sell down there now.
Or maybe they just want to see them win and urge them on, Dave.
Oh, yes.
I think is the angle you're going down. Yes, well done.
Yes.
Well done. Good.
Oh, finally, he's understanding what he needs to say.
Media coaching after all these years, Dave.
Yeah.
Paying off. I must learn how to spell team sheet. Yeah.
On that note.
And Geo as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, dear. Well, on that note, Podful of Saints on Twitter, email description below. Dave, anything else you want to mention? Every time I ask this, it always goes wrong.
No, nothing at all. It's been no significant changes at the club in the last week or so, is there? So, no, nothing at all.
Lee, anything else? No. I will say, shout out to all the fans who got in contact after last week's episode and Dave's many tirades. They went down very well. And there were some interesting comments. So thank you all for getting in touch. And we hope this one's been a bit more level. And we'll try and stay positive for the next one. So thank you. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching. And we will speak to you soon. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.